I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. And we can be talking about a lot of light today on the Starborn Show, because today there is a full moon at 21 degrees of Sagittarius. And so we know under a full moon that the moon opposes the sun. And so when planets are in opposition, they can represent separations or confusion or indecision about something. And that is why the title of today's show is Running Hot and Cold. And I'll explain why you could be doing both of those things this week. So, you have to be a little bit careful and about what you're doing this week or what you're saying, because you don't want to overreact to somebody and run too hot, but you don't want to be too standoffish or too cold either. And the reason why I'm talking about both of those extremes is because there is a grand trine among the fire signs under today's full moon in Sagittarius. So that moon, which rules our feelings and our emotions, is being beautifully trined by Mars in Leo, and it's being trined also by Saturn and Neptune in Aries. That's what's making the grand trine in the fire signs. But if we look a little bit more closely at how that gentle moon, which does rule our feelings, can react, we can understand why you could be running hot or cold this week. And that is because the moon is trining Mars in Leo. It's a fixed sign. It has some harsh aspects to it as well. But the moon trining Mars means that you might decide that you want to argue about leadership issues, or perhaps about financial matters, or something where you want to be the boss and somebody else doesn't agree with that, and so there can be friction. So you can be running a little bit hot about things that you feel very strongly about, but I want to caution you not to overdo it right now, because that little moon can also be affected by a planet that rules the cold. Just the way Mars rules anger and war and heat, Saturn rules the cold. It rules the mountains. It rules Capricorn, which rules your 10th house of career and your public reputation and your rewards you earn the hard way over a long period of time. But that little moon is trining Saturn in Aries. And Saturn's a real slow planet, and it does rule the cold, and Saturn also rules doubt. And it is at 0 degrees, and it is conjuncting Neptune at 2 degrees of Aries. So these two planets are real close together. Neither one of them are fast movers. And Neptune, on the other hand, rules dreams, or kidding yourself, or even wanting to escape things. Well, these two planets are in the sign of new beginnings. And so you could be running a little cold or a little doubtful about some new beginning. And you could be a little concerned about the difference between what you've been dreaming about and what reality really represents. So that is why you can be running hot and be over emotional about something, or you can be running cold and a little bit doubtful about things. And that is because there are some other harsh aspects going on among the planets this week. That's why I'm recommending that you don't run hot or cold, sort of stay in the middle and be a little bit cautious if you can. And the reason why is that there is still a harsh T-cross among the fixed signs. Only there have been only 3 planets doing that. This week there are 4. And so we have Mars in Leo, a fixed sign, being opposed by Pluto in Aquarius, and it's the only retrograde planet, and it is in the sign of the future. And so it represents people in upper management who are looking forward toward the future and perhaps changing their minds about the kind of management they want to work with. And so Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio, one of the fixed financial signs, and because they're opposing each other, that represents a separation. Or once again, there could be arguments. Mars is pretty headstrong. There can be arguments about money or financing in one way or another. But these two planets are also being heartily squared by 2 other planets. And that is because Venus has just moved into Taurus. Well, Venus rules Taurus. Those planets don't have any backup. There's nothing in Virgo and there's nothing in Capricorn. But Venus has moved into Taurus, and it is joining Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is a malefic planet ruling sudden surprising change, rebellion, volatility, and so it is the only planet now that is at the 29th degree of fate. And so it is strongly squaring that Mars in Leo at 27 degrees today. Venus is squaring Mars as well. And they are also squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And so Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, but it's squaring the sign it rules, and it's at the 29th degree of fate in very harsh square to Mars, and they're both malefic planets. Do you see why if you're running pretty hot and you get real mad at somebody, it's probably not going to do you any good or them? And that's why I urge you to be cautious if you can. Try to swallow your anger a little bit this week. The anger could be about financial matters, because Taurus is a financial sign, and the rulers of the other financial signs, Scorpio, are in the fixed signs as well, and they're opposing each other. So your battles or your arguments could be about money, or it could be about credit or debt or loans or expensive properties, or even a gamble that you might have lost right now. Maybe you owe money for that. But it would be a little bit hard to settle arguments right now, so I really suggest that you don't get in one. Because there are another 4 planets that are in the cardinal signs. Cardinal signs rule right and wrong. The 4 cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And the 4 planets are the 2 that are in Aries. Remember, Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, and they are harshly being squared by Mercury and Jupiter, which just yesterday went into Cancer. And so they're in very early degrees of Cancer, and Saturn and Neptune are in very early degrees of Aries. So these 4 planets are closely and harshly squaring each other. And cardinal signs think that they're very clear on what they think is right or wrong. And so there can be arguments about that. And these arguments or differences of opinion could be about family affairs or real estate matters. That's what Cancer rules, or endings, and because Cancer rules endings as well. But Jupiter's there. You'd think there would be some pretty good endings right now. However, Mars and Neptune in Aries means that there can be a lot of doubt about a new beginning. And not just because the moon is, trining Saturn and Neptune, and they are somewhat cold or delusional planets, but it is because Mercury and Jupiter are squaring them. And so you could be very hopeful about a family matter or a real estate matter, or something that could be sort of culminating and sort of coming to a head or coming to an ending, and yet you could be equally doubtful about a new beginning. So those 4 planets are squaring each other, so you have to be a little bit careful about things that seem improbable due to financial or family considerations, because they could be. And then the only 2 planets that are in mutable signs are opposing each other, and they are the Sun and the Moon, because the Sun is in a Gemini, a mutable sign, being opposed by that full moon in Sagittarius today, another mutable sign. So it would look like there could be a lot of indecision or confusion around. Well, there could be, but if you looked at each one of these planets by themselves, there is sort of a nice way to get around things right now that you might want to consider. And it is because each one of these planets that are harshly opposing each other are actually being backed up by other planets by themselves. That's good. And so what we see is that the Sun in Gemini is actually being beautifully trined by that Pluto in Aquarius. And they in turn trine the sign of Libra. So there is the possibility, since Gemini rules young people or short-term or temporary efforts, that something that is young people could maybe move forward with some of their ideas right now with some help from powerful people in upper management. And that's because that's what Pluto rules, and it's in the sign of the future. They could also, anybody could pick up new partners right now, particularly if they were only working on something part-time, or particularly if there was a change in management and people were looking for new ideas or new people to join them. You know, that could work out. Even if it was just on a short-term basis, it would be progress. That would work out. And then that full moon in Sagittarius today, as I mentioned, is involved in a grand trine in the fire signs. And so I think that you just have to be careful where you put your energy this week. Don't overdo it because you could be running too hot. And don't be too doubtful. There are reasons to doubt things, but that shouldn't stop you from maybe trying something out on a short-term basis. You could do that. So all of those things are things that you can consider right now. Just be sure not to go to extremes, because it's a dead end either way. And so, you know, you need to try to be a little bit more flexible and a little bit more cautious if you can. And otherwise, this is a great full moon, as long as you're cautious. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, you have planets in your sign already. Saturn and Neptune are conjuncting in early degrees of your sign. They're being heartily squared exactly by Mercury and Jupiter that just moved into Cancer yesterday. That's great. Jupiter's going to be in Cancer for a whole year, and it will be squaring your sun, Aries. But at the same time, so you have to watch out that home and family matters or anything to do with real estate or endings, you would not be getting your own way on everything, Aries. That's a given. And so you have to be open to negotiation, hopefully. And then those two planets in your sign are being trined by the full moon in Sagittarius. You could be thinking about a long-distance trip or going back to school to increase your skills, because Sagittarius rules higher education. Or you may be wanting to follow your religious beliefs a little bit more closely. That's what Sagittarius rules as well. And Sagittarius rules the courts, and it rules international law. Those are all things that you may be quietly interested in, Aries, and as long as you were sort of slowly pursuing your interests, you could probably be successful at that, which is good. Where would you stand to get in trouble? Well, if you were running a little too hot, you were getting a little too angry about something. That would be very easy for you to do right now, Aries. So you're going to have to put a lid on it a little bit, and you may not want to do that. Aries rules being first, or it rules being impulsive. And it's your own ruler, Mars, in Leo, that is trining your sun. And so it's trining Saturn. Mars and Saturn are two malefic planets, but they're sort of working for you, not against you, because they're in trine to your sign, Aries. So you probably would have the ability to overdo it. I strongly urge you not to do that, though. And the reason why is because Mercury and Jupiter in Cancer are very good planets. They're going to be there for a while. They are in early Cancer, exactly squaring Saturn and Neptune in your sign. So you're not going to have it all your own way, Aries. And if you overreact to that, or you push just a little bit harder, you could alienate people in your own family. Or you could stymie some sort of new start that you want to make. You want to take that risk, Aries? I wouldn't do that. And so, you know, try to throttle back a little bit if you can, and try to be a little bit more patient. And you have two very slow planets in your sign right now, so you may be able to decide to make longer range plans, and so that you don't have to have everything right now, and maybe that would work out. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time, Taurus, when you can feel like, gee, you want to improve your looks in some way, because Venus, your own ruler, has just come into your sign. Well, so you could probably do that. But at the same time, Uranus, which has been in your sign for 6 years and is a malefic planet denoting sudden surprising change. So you would have gone, in the last 6 years, you would have gone through some surprising changes, Taurus. And they could have affected you financially, because yours is a financial sign. Well, if you move too fast right now, Taurus, it's really going to affect you. And what it would bring about is an irrevocable ending. And that is because Uranus is at the 29th degree of fate right now in your sun sign. So it's sort of lucky that Venus just came into your sun sign. It may soften your approach to something right now, or soften your reaction to something. What would the reaction be about? Possibly bad news about financial matters. and yet, it may be out of your control. Mars at 27 degrees of Leo is very harshly squaring that Uranus at 29 degrees in your sign. And then it's also squaring Venus. And Mars and Venus squaring each other means that some of your relationships are going to get a little bumpy, Taurus. And I don't think there's much that you can do about it that is constructive. I think what you should rely on is a little bit more of your own way of doing something that it would be just good for yourself, without trying to reach out a little bit too much. Because there is the aspect that wherever you're working, or in whatever organization that you may be involved in right now, since Pluto in Aquarius is also squaring Venus and Uranus, and when Pluto and Venus square or oppose each other, it's an indication of a betrayal. And so there can be changes in management in an organization that you belong to. Now this may be somewhat natural. Like if you've served on something for a couple of years, well, maybe it's the next person's turn. You could think of that as a betrayal, but maybe it's just the way things go. And so, I wouldn't take it to heart too much, Taurus, if management changes right now. And it would possibly change not in your favor. Now, think about that though, Taurus. What that might mean is that if you've been extra busy lately, or you have been very worried about your investments, maybe this is a time when things can quiet down for you if you let them quiet down. And that's going to take some effort, because Mars is so closely squaring Uranus in your sign and Venus as well. Somebody wants to make trouble for you. Somebody wants to argue. Somebody's jealous of you. And at the same time, there's going to be a change in management somewhere that will affect you. And so you just got to keep your cool. And your ruler is in your own sign. And that's very good for you, Taurus, even though there's harsh aspects to your sign. If you want to be seen at your best, you can do it. Taurus is a sturdy earth sign. They're sort of a heavy hitter when they want to be. I would suggest you not do that. It will cost you too much money. Remember that Mars and Pluto are both squaring your sun. And they're the rulers of the other financial sign. And yours is a financial sign that's in a little bit of trouble right now because Uranus is at the 29th degree of fate, meaning something is on or over. It is over, Taurus. It's not on. The thing that would be of benefit to you is that Venus is in your sign, and no matter what else is happening in your life, you could put a good face on it. You could still look real good to people if you wanted to. And you'd be able to do that. So keep that in mind. All right, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is a time when you may be thinking, oh gee, how did it get so quiet? And that's because, there really aren't, there's only one planet in your sign and it's being opposed. And that's because the sun in Gemini is being opposed by the full moon in Sagittarius today. So there could be some confusion or indecision about a long distance trip, about a legal matter, about your religious views, or it can be that you may have thought that you devised some very good plan for the future. Pluto in Aquarius is trining the sun in your sign, and yet if somebody else has a little change, or somebody else has done something that will require you to make a change, this would be the time to do it, Gemini. And your sign rules flexibility and being very adaptable. And it's pretty hard to knock a Gemini down, not because they're hard hitting or something. They're not like that. All the air signs are conceptual. They're very creative, and they like to get along with people. And so there is a possibility that someone could come along and make you an offer for some sort of part-time effort or new partnership or just work in the community in one way or another. And okay, that make a change in your overall plans, Gemini, but I would say yes if I were you, because the sun is being trined by Pluto. So your sign does have backup. But at the same time, it's being opposed by the full moon in Sagittarius, which means that somebody else doesn't agree with you on sort of high-minded issues. They have their own ideas, and you're not going to change their mind, Gemini. They're not going to change yours either. So I would stay away from touchy topics right now, Gemini. It's not going to get you anywhere. Try to talk about everyday calm things. And your sign rules everyday life and early childhood education, and just easy breezy things that you can do, and particularly short term. And your sign rules 2 of everything. So if you just sort of backed off and came across as a little more soft in your approach, or a little more adaptable to the changes that are going on around you, I think it would really make you look good, Gemini. And I think that you could be very attractive to new management if you made sure that you neither ran hot nor cold. Just sort of stay in the middle if you can, Gemini, and keep a smile on your face. And you might be surprised that people like that a little bit better than you realize right now, because other people are going off sort of the deep end, and as long as you don't, you're going to be fine. So keep that in mind. Mild-mannered is a good idea this week. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, congratulations! And that is because Jupiter just came into your sign yesterday, and Mercury is there as well. They're in very early degrees of your sign. Jupiter's going to stay there for a whole year, Cancer. Oh, your life is going to expand. And so is your waistline, Cancer, because generally when Jupiter is somebody's sun sign, it means they put on a little bit of extra weight, and your sign rules the whole food business. It rules agriculture, restaurants, very good cooking, and so you might expand a little bit more this year, Cancer, than you were counting on. But on the other hand, you could expand in other ways besides just adding extra pounds. It can be that you would have much more to do around home, that your family life, you could take on a new family life, actually, and you could decide to do some things around home that have needed doing for a long time, Cancer, and you're deciding, this is the time when I'm going to do it. And that would be good. So if you were making your home more attractive, that would be nice. And if you were having interactions in a sort of a nice homey way with people, you know, a backyard picnic on 4th of July would be great. Or potluck dinners, or just easy fun, you know, it would just make you feel really good, Cancer. And even though you have Saturn and Neptune in Aries squaring your sun for years to come, except briefly when they both go back into Pisces, still, it simply means that new beginnings are going to be a little bit slow to get off the ground. Now, one good reason why something could be a little slower than you were anticipating, might be because you want to do a better job of something. In other words, if you were deciding to redecorate your home or upgrade it in some way, you may get real serious about that and decide, well, rather than put this off for a few more years, why not do it now? And okay, it would take longer, but it would be the right thing to do. And so, sure, that would slow down a new beginning, but in the long run, it would really pay off. And you are certainly going to benefit from having Jupiter in your sign this year. One thing that it will do is it will straighten out your emotions. And by that, I mean that if you have had any naughty, sort of conflicting emotional problems with people in your life, those will straighten out one way or another this year. And I don't think you're going to have to do much to make that happen. It may be that some other parties are just deciding that arguing isn't worth it, or that they're seeing you in a different light. Your life is going to expand this year. You could start a new family. And I don't mean from scratch. It might be that you decide to take on some partner and that would be fine. I hope they're a good cook, or else you are. Because I think you're going to be doing more entertaining at home this year. And so that may be why you want to sort of spruce up the place and make things look nice. And you will surely enjoy that, Cancer, so congratulations. And just remember, going off the deep end, either running too hot or too cold, is not going to do you any good, because you already should be feeling better these days. And it might be because you're coming home, or you are particularly close to a childhood home, or something where you're connecting with your roots a little bit more. And that would tend to make you feel very good, Cancer. You know, if you've been a person that has traveled a lot in your life, possibly this next year you may cut that back a little bit and decide that home matters need to be taken care of, and this is the year to do it. You would be absolutely right about that, and you'd be successful at that, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Leo, this is a time, Leo, when you're going to have to be very careful to keep a lid on it, Leo. And the reason why is that Mars is in your sign at 27 degrees. It's backed up because it's part of a grand trine in the fire signs, because the full moon in Sagittarius is trining Mars in your sign today, and also Saturn and Neptune in Aries are trining your sign. Do you see, with so much backup, you could decide that you were going to have your way on everything that you want, and you want to do it now. Well, that is running a little too hot. And the reason why is that there are other planets that are not so agreeable to that Mars in your sun sign. For instance, Pluto in Aquarius is opposing it, and it's retrograde, meaning that other people somewhere that are associated with you in one way or another, Leo, are wanting to change management right now and head in a future direction, and they will not be taking you with them. Now, it might be due to something like budget cuts, where it just can't be helped. You know, it's not like it's a personal thing. The reason it could have something to do with financial matters, where you sort of part ways, is because Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio, and Scorpio is a fixed financial sign, and these two rulers are not in good aspect, and they haven't been for weeks. So I don't think you're going to come out on the winning end of an argument about money right now, and the reason why is it's not just that it's not there, or somebody doesn't have it, or the leadership is changing, or whatever, but it is that Uranus is the only planet now at the 29th degree of fate in Taurus, the other fixed financial sign, and it is closely squaring Mars at 27 degrees in your sign. And they're both malefic planets. Something is going to blow up. If it hasn't already blown up, it's just about to. And I want to caution you, Leo, don't be around when it happens. And the reason why is you'd get hurt. And that's not good. And that's why do not run too hot this week, Leo. Just put a lid on it. And if you are really stirred up about something and you feel you're absolutely right, I can guarantee you if you press your point, you're going to lose money, not make the money. You will somehow lose money on that. And that's because Uranus in Taurus is not only squaring Mars so closely, but the rulers of Scorpio, the other fixed financial sign, are in harsh opposition as well. So this is a week, Leo, when you need to tiptoe quietly through the tulips and try not to make anybody mad at you. And if you're mad, try to take it out in a constructive way. I mean, if there's a job somewhere that you have been putting off and it is absolutely terrible and you really don't want to do it, but you're really mad at somebody, that would give you the energy to go and do that job and fix a problem that would help you out instead. But if you really let go right now and push, you're going to get pushed back much harder than you realize, and it's not worth anything to risk that. So don't do it, Leo. Zip the lip this week. And don't do anything else. Don't do anything in writing, nothing. If you appear threatening to anybody, you're going to be shocked at what their reaction will be. It'll overwhelm you. That's why I wouldn't take a risk on anything this week, Leo, but particularly not anything that has to do with money. That's why you run hot and go do a hard job that you'll be proud of yourself when it's all done. As far as running cold goes, it would do you a world of good, Leo. This would be a better time for you to get away to the mountains or just get away where it's sort of cool and calm and sit it out this week. The world will not miss your anger. They won't miss that. And if you don't express it in any way, or if you have a way to let it out and let it go, you may be doing your health a lot of good, and your sign rules the heart and the back. And it rules the whole blood supply. And if you want to run hot, you're going to hurt yourself, Leo. So don't do it. This is just absolutely not the week to do it. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, there isn't a planet in your sign or in Capricorn, but there are two planets that are trining your sun sign, and one of them is a very good one. The other one, even in a trine to your sign, represents money problems. So be a little careful with your money, Virgo. I wouldn't bet on anything this week. And that is because Venus is in Taurus, trining your sun. You could actually get some good news about money. On the other hand, Uranus is at the 29th degree of fate, but it too is trining your sun. And so it might be that a long-term investment has reached a point where you may decide to sell it because perhaps it represents a lot of profit. That would be a good idea. You don't have to go, don't let greed get to you, Virgo. If you can see that something has reached a price that you think is a good selling point, it would be a good idea to sell it. Put the money in your own pocket and keep it. On the other hand, you may see something very expensive that you want to buy, and you may have the money to do it, Virgo. And if you can get the right price, I would suggest you go ahead and do it. Venus is trining your sun. It's trining the Capricorn sun too. So this would be a good time, since it's in Taurus, a fixed financial sign. If you saw something that was of good quality and was well made, or it represents a good value, not cheap or anything, but high quality, and you have the money and you've been thinking about doing it, this would be actually a pretty good time to do that. Go ahead and buy something that you've had your eye on, Virgo. I think you do have the money. It's just I wouldn't take a gamble on anything. That isn't going to pay off for anybody right now, and something is aspected to blow up. I don't think it's going to involve you, Virgo, but it could be pretty close to you because Mars is in Leo right behind your sun sign. And so you may be, there could be a blow up in your near vicinity. And yet if you are affected by it in one way or another, it would not necessarily be a harsh way. Maybe it would, if you were affected by a blow up that was happening around you, it may have been a long time coming, but the result of it might do you some good. In other words, if there was tension somewhere in your life and it blew up, well, then it would be gone. And that would actually probably do your nerves a lot of good. It might quiet your life down a little bit. Virgos would like that, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time, Libra, when, remember I said, even though the sun and the full moon are opposing each other, and they're the only two planets in a mutable sign indicating confusion or indecision, at the same time by themselves they're being trined by other planets. Well, that is true. The sun in Gemini is trining your sign, Libra. There's nothing in your sign, but the sun is trining your sign. That's good. And also Pluto in Aquarius is trining your sign. And that could draw people who are sort of in upper management in large corporations, institutions, or government agencies that are looking for fresh talent, and they may be looking your way. Libra, and they may want you to join them part-time for something. Gemini rules part-time things. So that's how that trine of the Sun and Pluto could work for you. And the net effect of that, Libra, is that it would introduce you to a new area of interest of yours, or a new group that you would be working with, and it could lead to a really great partnership in the future. So, if somebody invites you to do something with them, I think this is a good time for you to say yes, Libra. It doesn't have to have a deadline on it. It doesn't have to go on forever, but it's worth a try, is what I would say. And the reason why it would be good for you to do that is because the full moon in Sagittarius is actually sextiling your sun. It's not trining your sun, but it is sextiling your sun, which means there can be an opportunity for you to increase your education or get a little better training, maybe for a new job. Or it can be that you want to take some long-distance trip somewhere, or you're interested in international events and you become a little bit more closely aligned with them. All of that would work because the moon is sextile your sun and the sun is trining your sun. You see, you have the lights going in your favor, Libra. It's sort of gently going in your favor, but both of the lights are going in your favor. And this is actually a time when people can be running hot or cold. And I think that you should stand in the middle and just smile a lot right now, Libra. See what happens. Because the lights are favoring you, which would tend to indicate some sort of an upcoming change that would be beneficial for you. And you need to look at all offers right now, Libra. And the reason why is that Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, opposing your sun sign. That's going to go on for years. And so you need to be a little bit careful who you say yes to. But this happens to be a time with the lights sextiling and trining your sun when you should say yes to somebody. And so go ahead. You don't know how long it's going to last, but it looks favorable. And even if a new beginning is somewhat doubtful, well, so what? Still, you have nothing to lose by trying it out, and just see what unfolds. Libras are charming people. You're not going to be around people that don't like you. It is just that, it might be that you feel you're not ready for something, and I would say it isn't all up to you, Libra. The reason why it's not all up to you is that it takes two to tango. And if somebody else has got an idea that maybe you didn't think of it, but you don't see anything wrong with it, well, why not say yes? Give it a try. It could work out a lot better than you think. It might work out in a different way than you're thinking right now. It could be a better way than you're thinking of. So that's why you should give it a try. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time, Scorpio, when there are some planets in water signs. There haven't been for the last few weeks. That's a little hard to live with because people could have pent-up emotions, or they could be really sure about their emotions, but not about yours, or else you could be sure about your emotions, but other people that you'd like to connect with are not connecting, or, things have been going wrong. And so that is because, Scorpio, your rulers have been in trouble since the end of April. Because as soon as Mars came into Leo, it began opposing Pluto in Aquarius, and both of them have been squaring your sun for weeks now. And now Venus is in Taurus, and Uranus is at the 29th degree of fate, and they are both opposing your sun. You really have some heavy-duty planets that are coming down on your sign, Scorpio. You don't have anything in your sun sign, but as of yesterday, you finally have something actually trining your sun, and that is Mercury and Jupiter in Cancer. And Jupiter's the big one. It's going to be trining your sun for a whole year. And that is going to bring you good fortune, particularly at home or in family matters that clear up without you having to do anything to it. They're just going to clear up. And that's fine. We can't live somebody else's life for them. And if a family member has been arguing, or family members going off and doing their own thing, and maybe you don't agree with that, or it's getting too costly, or whatever, that'll work itself out. And I don't think you're going to have to do anything, Scorpio, except it's going to be real good when, now Pluto's not leaving. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius squaring your sun for years. And that means that other people in upper management that are looking toward the future, they're looking for something possibly that goes beyond what you want. It isn't that it's wrong what they're looking for, and it isn't that whatever you're looking for is wrong. It's that it's sort of like ships that pass in the night, with Pluto squaring your sun for years to come. It's younger people with newer ideas, sort of want to take a risk and do it their way. And all of your experience or your knowledge or your money it's not exactly what they're looking for. They wouldn't mind all that, but they're looking for something beyond what you're looking for. And that's going to go on. And so I would say, just be philosophical about it, Scorpio. Just realize that there's a time and a place for everyone. And if you had your day in the sun, what's wrong with somebody else having their day in the sun? Time moves forward, not backward. And so this could be a time instead with Jupiter in Cancer the whole year, trining your sun. And also Mercury right now, which means good news about a home or family matter. It does mean that if you sort of stayed in one place right now, and it could be you could be making a move closer to where you grew up, or where your roots were, and you wouldn't exactly be going back in time. In other words, I don't think that you're going to be repeating the past. People can't do that because time moves forward. But what you could do is, if you are moving home, you could be deciding to redecorate a home, or update it in some way. Maybe it needs a lot of constructive work on it. Maybe it's an older home, and it needs to be brought up to code. And maybe nobody's been doing that for years. But Scorpio, your sign rules construction. Scorpios love construction. They like to watch somebody else building something, or they would like to build it themselves. And this is a time when you may be able to settle on something that does need your fine hand as far as fixing something goes or upgrading something goes. That would be absolutely excellent for you, and you'd have the money to do that, Scorpio. As long as you had not taken a gamble, because this is a time when you would lose big on a gamble. And so I hope you're not doing that, Scorpio, because Mars in Leo is squaring your sun, Pluto in Aquarius is squaring your sun, and the big one is that now Uranus is at the 29th degree of fade in Taurus, along with Venus in Taurus, and they are both opposing your sun sign. And remember, your rulers are opposing each other. So if you were thinking that you were going to win on a bet, the answer is no. But as long as you didn't make a bet, you wouldn't lose anything on it. Do you see what I mean, Scorpio? There's just times when, for your very survival, it's a little bit better to stay home and watch the world go by. It isn't that the world is forgetting you. It isn't that people don't care about you. And it isn't that you don't want people with you. I think you do want that. I think you've been through times that have proved disappointing to you, and it could have been years of that. And this may be a time in your life with Jupiter trining your sun that you make up for lost time. And not by going back to the past, but more or less by realizing that there may have been some false starts in your past. And now maybe you can settle for the real thing. And this would be an excellent time to do that. And whoever or whatever you love, Scorpio, I advise you to bring them home. And because that's where you should be. And your love should be with you. And don't worry, it's going to grow. Even if you said, Oh, I think I'll stick a little closer to home this year. There's a lot of work I have to do. You could think you were going to be sort of taking a rest or taking time off or something like that, and you might find that your life fills up with other things that are very pleasant and that you have not enjoyed for a long time, and that could be coming true. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarius? Oh, Sagittarius, the full moon is in your sun sign today, and that means there's a lot of light on you, Sagittarius, and the sun in Gemini is opposing that, meaning that you can be undecided about something that involves travel. Your sign involves long-distance travel, foreign countries, international law, religion, big court cases, things like that. And so you have a very philosophical mind, Sagittarius, and because your ruler is Jupiter, and Jupiter has been in Gemini for a whole year. It's not there anymore. It went into Cancer. But for a whole year, your ruler has been opposing your sun sign. And so as you tried to reach out for something that you wanted, Sagittarius, either you were hesitant to do that or a little bit doubtful, so it didn't happen, or else you tried, but you might have made a few false starts. Maybe you were talking to the wrong people, or something else got in the way because Jupiter was always opposing your sun sign. But on the other hand, there's a grand trine in fire signs today, Sagittarius. You can do no wrong. As long as you don't go off the deep end. As long as if you don't respond in a hot way to something, and as you don't let your doubts cool you off on something. Don't let that happen either. Because Mars in Leo is trining your sun, and Saturn and Neptune are also trining your sun in Aries. If you think that you've had to take a very long time to get something off the ground that was a new beginning, okay, so maybe you lost a little time on that. Well, you still have a great future, Sagittarius, particularly with the grand trine in the fire signs now. And I would say that even if a new beginning takes longer than you think, or there's a lot of details to it, or something like that, you've got to go for it, Sagittarius, because Saturn and Neptune are going to be trining your sun for years, except for a brief time when they go back in Pisces, but they'll be doing that for years. Saturn stays in a sign 2.5 to 3 years. Well, by the time that's done, you'll have your new beginning well on its way, completely off the ground. It's going to be fine. And Neptune stays in a sign for like 10 or 12 years. So, you know, if you were ever going to make a dream come true, Sagittarius, get on it. And that's because Neptune rules dreams, and for once, it's trining your sun. So you should do it. Something that you've been wanting to do, or some travels that you've been wanting to take, or further education that you wanted to get. You probably have the money to do that. You probably have the time to do that. And so this is when you should go forward. And if you've just had this idea in your mind for a long, long time, and you always thought that life was getting in the way, well, okay, we all get older. You're still here, Sagittarius. Go for it. Time's a-wasting. A new beginning is certainly in your future, and what it is it's something that will involve you taking slow steps, and the direction is continually up. You will be taking slow steps clear to the top of something, and you'll make it. So I would get on it if I were you. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, there isn't any planet in your sign or in Virgo, but you've got two great planets trining your sun, Capricorn, because Venus has just moved into Taurus, and it's trining your sun along with Uranus at the 29th degree of fate. But it's trining your sun, and that means that there's some financial matter in your life, Capricorn, that has probably reached a point of enrichment, is what I would call it. And the reason why it might be some money that you've had around for a very long time, could be in a pension plan, or it could be an investment that has gotten more valuable, and you know, maybe it's taken so long you haven't been looking at that too closely. I'd look at it again because it has a very bright future, and it just depends on what you want to do with your money right now, Capricorn. Capricorns are frugal. They're careful with their money. They don't waste it. But on the other hand, if there was something really beautiful of high quality that you had on your mind, or you wanted to buy, or you wanted to do, this would be an absolutely excellent time to do it, because Venus is in Taurus trining your sun. You should take advantage of that. And so if there's something that's a little pricey and you have the money for it, which I think you do, Capricorn, I would say go for it. Venus, in 8 months, Venus can get completely around a chart. That means it can go through all 12 signs in 8 months. Okay, so Venus isn't going to be in Taurus very long. And while it's trining your sun, along with Uranus at the 29th degree of fate, if I were you, I would take advantage of that. And if you have some money around and it's just sitting there, but you have your eye on something that maybe you can get at the right price, or it's a time in your life when you think, if I don't do it now, I won't be able to do it later, then you should do it now. And just go forward. You know, there was a movie made years ago that was very famous. I think it won an Oscar. And the title of the movie is You Can't Take It With You. And Frank Capra produced it. And it was a hit movie. And that's true, Capricorn. No matter how careful you are with money, you can't keep it forever. And so this is a time when it would be a very auspicious time for you to part with something that was going to cost a little bit, but it's the right time, and it was the right thing, and you're the right age to do it. So go ahead. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, you could be feeling the heat in one way, but I urge you, don't run too hot. But you could be tempted, Aquarius, and the reason why is that Mars is at 27 degrees of Leo right now, opposing Pluto in your sun sign, and Venus and Uranus, which is at the 29th degree of Taurus, are both squaring your sun sign. Uranus is your own ruler, and it is at 29th degree of fate, absolutely squaring the 29th degree of fate in your sign, Aquarius. So push has come to shove as far as a financial matter goes, and you've got to do something about it. Well, if it's making you angry, cool down, Aquarius, because running too hot is not going to do anybody any good right now. No. Because the reaction to what they do, as if they're running angry about something, will be more fierce than they were anticipating, and they would lose. That's why don't get in a fight right now. But on the other hand, the sun in Gemini is trining your sun where you have Pluto. Aquarius, in your sign, rules unexpected change. And it generally rules people who are higher on the social scale than you are, and you meet them in rather unexpected ways. Or you have a relationship with them that came about in a surprising way. And that could be happening now. And it could be happening with somebody younger, or it could be happening in a situation that's just a sort of a short-term situation, or with young people, because the sun in Gemini is trining your sun where you have Pluto. And so if you weren't running hot and you weren't running cold, but you were deciding, okay, if there's something new that's coming up now, maybe I should listen to it. Maybe I should go after that a little bit. This would be an absolutely excellent time for you to go exploring, Aquarius, and it would be right in your own backyard. Okay, Gemini rules neighborhoods. It doesn't rule far off countries. The full moon does, but Gemini rules neighborhoods, and it's the sun that's trining your sun. So if you were just sort of wanting to nose around your neighborhood and make new friends or join some group, you would be very popular. They would want you to do that. What have you got to lose, Aquarius? Nothing. So if I were you, this would be a good time not to run hot, not to have a lot of doubts and run cold, but just sort of go with the flow. You could do that right now, Aquarius, and actually, in some way, it would increase your prestige, or it would increase the amount of power that other people have, and they sort of want to get, those people want to get a little closer to you, Aquarius. or you could extend your own power right now. But it would be on a temporary or part-time basis or with younger people, and it would work out quite well. And so give it a thought, Aquarius. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces. Pisces, there isn't anything in your sign after years of having planets in your sign. And that's because Neptune was in your sign for 12 or 13 years. That was your own ruler. It was the only time in your life when you have it in your sign. So I hope you did something inspirational, or I hope you made a dream come true in some way, Pisces, because you could have. Or you could just meet somebody who was a dream, who was sort of a perfect person for you. And that would have been great too. But for right now, under today's full moon in Sagittarius, the full moon in Sagittarius squares your sun, and so does the sun in Gemini. They're the only two planets in a mutable sign, and of course under full moon the sun always opposes the moon. But yours is a mutable sign, and it opposes the sign of Virgo. Well, there's nothing in Virgo either. And so what you've got is the sun and the moon both squaring your sign, Pisces. And so you can't please everybody right now, Pisces, is what I'm saying. And also, it is not your nature to run hot. It doesn't mean that Pisces don't have strong feelings, but they aren't mean people. And and so, Pisces, I think you have to walk sort of a fine line right now, right in between the people that want to aggravate you and the people that sort of want to make you happy. And if you could just walk a fine line through any disappointments or arguments or conflicting situations right now in your life or in their lives, and just keep going, Pisces, that would be the safest way. So you really do have to stick on the straight and narrow. Not overreact, not be too doubtful, not cause harm. You wouldn't want to do that anyway. That's not your nature. But this is a time that could be extremely explosive. And all I'm saying, Pisces, is don't be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because you're asking to get hurt. Don't do that. And so you really do have to be careful right now. And the reason why is not because of anything you're doing, Pisces. It's because of what's going on around you. It's people that can be mad at other people. It can be gamblers who have lost money and they're pretty angry. It can be other people that are just full of doubt and dread and things you don't want to hear anyway. And that's why this fine line right now, where you just sort of stick on your own road, even if it's a narrow trail, as long as you're on it, Pisces, you'll be safe. But if you wander off into groups that are very divergent or are in sort of opposite ends of some sort of a spectrum, you'll get hurt. There's nothing in your sign. The very best news right now for you, Pisces, is what's coming. Not today or tomorrow, but what's coming. And I really mean it's good news, because Mercury and Jupiter just went into Cancer and they trine your sun. Mercury will move on, but Jupiter's going to stay there for a whole year, Pisces. If that narrow trail that you're on was leading to home, that would be exactly where you need to go. Just a beeline to home, wherever home is, Pisces. Something maybe closer to where you grew up. Something that really does represent a familiar footing for you. Familiar places, good memories. And head for that. Because Jupiter is going to be trining your sun for a whole year, and your home life is going to improve. And you know it's going to improve without you doing much. If you're just there, it'll improve. Relationships will change. They'll get better in families. And people will see you with new eyes. You may see yourself with new eyes. And that would be very good for you, Pisces, because when we see ourselves with new eyes, it means we're looking at a better future than what we're leaving, what was behind us. Nobody needs to stay in the past, because time doesn't move that way. Time moves forward. So this is when you need to do that, Pisces, and head for home. You'll be glad you did. And you'll never regret it. You'll never regret it. No matter what age you are, you won't regret it. So good luck. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and thank you to the new subscribers, and I hope you tell your friends about the show. And until then, I'll just see you right back here next week. And remember, don't go off the deep end either way this week. Not going to do anybody any good. Stay calm. Thanks a lot. Bye.